Hello and welcome to Warblog. Today we're looking at the Fashir scenario, Sudan, 2003. It's basically pretty much the first event in the war, the Darfur War. I've been meaning to get into Sudan for a while, mainly because I was aware that if you look at the search, I had Sudan in there, which I think I put in when I did South Sudan, but I had no campaigns for it, and there's probably a few more like that. But so I thought I'd find something, and then I decided to buy a book, as I sort of generally do. So I bought this book, Darfur, A Short History of a Long War. And I don't know probably where it got all this information from, but this is a chapter I'm reading called The War, which is sort of not many pages long, about 19 pages long. So, but it just seems like it's a regurgitation of what you got on Wikipedia. I mean, the sentences are exactly the same. It's like someone's gone to Wikipedia and basically just copied and pasted it and then modified, the sentence structure so that it's not plagiarism. I mean, of course, it could have been that Wikipedia was referring to this book, but somehow I doubt it. Still, it's not bad, and it's given me a sort of an insight into what I'm trying to achieve. So it's essentially I'm just trying to sort of get some sort of scenarios for the Darfur War and Sudan in general. I got another book that is much better. Let me just go and get it. Put this on the pause. And that book is called The Root Causes of Sudan's Civil Wars. And it sort of starts off from the Sudanese independence in 1956 and goes forward basically. The appendix seems to cover up to 2002, so possibly doesn't include the Darfur War, but someone knew. Well, I do a lot of everything. I know everything eventually, but so in this scenario, not so much scenario, in this war, there were a couple of events. I can't quite get my head around what caused it. It was basically I'm just reading from Wikipedia now. The rebels were basically fighting the government. They were accusing the government of oppressing Darfur's non-Arab population. So that's pretty much the crux of it. And so they start fighting in around the Darfur area, and they were having some quite good success. One of the first things that they did, they started off on the 26th or around 26th of February, but on the 25th of March, they seized a garrison town. They seized the garrison town of Tyne, which is on the Chadian border, and seized large quantities of arms and supplies. And essentially, with that, they managed to sort of to carry out quite a lot of successful engagements. They won 34 out of 38 engagements in the sort of middle months of 2003, because the Sudan army wasn't really equipped for the sort of desert warfare, and so they were driving around in sort of pickup trucks, as we're sort of fairly aware of now, in these sort of Middle Eastern wars, loaded with militants and heavy machine guns, etc. And that's what these two units here represent. But so that the first one was when they seized the garrison town, when they seized Tyne on the Chadian border on the 25th of March, and later, pretty much a month later, on the 25th of April, the Sudanese Liberation Army, which is this one here, and the Justice and Equality Movement, which is this one here, but as you can see I haven't change the words on there. They basically joined forces, so as you can see they're working together, and they took 33 Toyota Land Cruisers, so that's sort of 15 in each. So if there's 15 in each and there's say 6 soldiers, it's about, I can't even figure out what 6 times 15 is. 60, that's 90. So there's about 90 people in each. So it's not quite a company, but they're irregulars, so that's how I'm doing it. And they're moving fast, and it's a surprise attack. Basically, they've been fighting for about a month or 2 months, as I said, and they took out Tyne, which is on the Chadian border. But they were doing really well. As I said, 34 out of 38 engagements, but they were being hammered in the mountains by the Sudanese Air Force. And so this is what prompted this. And so they basically, as I said, they put together the sort of little battle group of 33 Toyota Land Cruisers, and they drove to basically the airport at Fashir. And this is what's most notable about this, really. I know it's a bit sort of boring having these sort of 1 and 3 unit games, from a gaming thing, but that's not just what the site's about. It's about sort of history and presenting and demonstrating that. So anyway, but they basically they take out 4 Antonov bombers and helicopter gunships. Now the actual rebels said they took a lot more, a lot more aeroplanes. Yeah, the rebels said they destroyed 7 planes, 75 soldiers, pilots and technicians were killed, and 32 were captured, including the commander of the airbase and major general. It basically says that the success of the raid was unprecedented in Sudan. In 20 years of the previous war in Sudan, the Sudan's People Liberation Army had never carried out such an operation. And the thing is, if you sort of Google Antonov bombers, even 4 of them, that's a phenomenal amount of hardware. Millions of dollars each. So it's quite spectacular that they managed to sort of get together and actually take this airport out. And I'm assuming it was guarded, and so I don't know the full sort of details of how well it was defended, how many people were there, actually what happened. But anyway, so we're going to play that. Now, I have been toying with the idea, but I don't think I'm going to do it, of having a surprise attack option somehow, where you can actually, if available, you would have a click box there, surprise attack, and you would get that on your first turn, or some such rule. I might give people like 3 surprise attacks or something, and then it would be a checkbox in this thing here, and then you get double your factors. But to be quite honest, I don't really want to take the complexity to that far. Anyway. Well, they fail in their surprise attack. Okay. Right, so what are these units going to do? Well, I think they're going to hold. Not much point in attacking, because they'd be a 1-to-1. So they're going to do it again. So it wasn't straightforward. Interesting. Because they've now recovered. Well, they will recover if they don't do anything. Oh no, they recovered from before. These should be on 2s. So they're slowly going down. They're winning the battle. I don't know whether to retreat or not. You know, after two losses like that, and I said I've done this time and time, well, not time and time again, but a few times before. You know, talking about these sorts of battles. You know, it was unprecedented and you know, tremendous victory because they got these 4 aircraft. But at the same time, it might not have worked. I mean, not all these attacks do work. I mean, you quite often hear of attacks going in on military bases and they're repelled and rebuffed. And what we've just modelled there is the attack being repelled and rebuffed. And to be quite honest, I'm going to just moved. I mean, there's no reinforcements or anything, but I think that in the light of the fact that they've just recovered and the added roleplay that I like to add, I'm going to retreat them. So in this scenario, the Al Fashir airbase assault was repulsed, and the Sudanese government didn't lose 4 Antonov bombers and a number of helicopter gunships. The whoever they are, the Sudan Liberation Army and Justice and Equality Movement, or the whatever the grand name of Darfur Liberation Army or whatever, they didn't gain their massive morale boost. Probably had a morale loss. The government were probably a little more secure about their position and didn't use it as essentially a driver to instigate full-out war in the Darfur region. And in particular, what happened was that the as a result of this and the subsequent attacks where the rebels were winning, they basically started to arm the Janjaweed. And I've got this rubbish book that I don't really like, but it's not so bad. It says, it's pretty much what Wikipedia says, the government war effort had 3 main elements: Janjaweed, Air Force and military intelligence, blah blah blah. Basically, they to fight the war, they started to arm the Janjaweed rebels. In subsequent debate over whether the war in Darfur constituted genocide or not, a debate whose burden of proof paradoxically became a hindrance to action, one thing is certain: the people who decided to use the Janjaweed as a counter-insurgency force knew exactly what that would mean. They had used similar militias in the Marrah Mountains in the early 1990s and in the contested oil fields of southern Sudan starting in 1998, and had seen the results, and now they were planning a replay. Essentially, when they sort of started arming the Janjaweed units, they basically, the Janjaweed were upgraded to a full paramilitary fighting force with communications equipment as well as plentiful new arms, some artillery and military advisors, leading credence to US claims that Musa Hilal returned to Darfur as government-appointed coordinator of Janjaweed activities. Hilal moved thousands of Janjaweed from South Darfur to North Darfur, the launch pad for all major SLA attacks at the time, and organised a new base for them in Jebel Sira, west of Khartoum. But basically, the Janjaweed were sort of part and parcel of the opposing tribal factions that constituted a lot of the ethnic cleansing and genocide that the Darfur War is sort of known for, really. So essentially the point is, if this scenario that I just depicted here had come about, then maybe it wouldn't have escalated and the war wouldn't have happened. Obviously that's just a little aside. I mean, obviously I could play this again and I could get the DR action on there and take the base, but there's no point. I mean, it's a story and we completed this one version of it. If you want to make your own version, then sign up and see how you fare. Okay, I hope you enjoy that, and I'll speak to you later. Cheers, mate.